You cancel your plans, avoid people, not because you don't care, but because deep down, you don't feel safe. You'd rather not show up than risk being misunderstood. You shrink in conversations. You change your outfit before you leave your house 5 times. You cover up your body, even in summer. You stay quiet in meetings, even when you know the answer. This is what low self-esteem actually looks like. It's not just feeling bad about yourself. It's your brain protecting you from a connection because at some point, connection didn't feel safe. I'm Crystal Dirksen, co-host of the Robert Jean Experience. And in this episode, Robert breaks down how self-esteem is actually built, not just through willpower or affirmations, but through the memories your brain uses to define who you are. And Robert is a neuroplastician, behavioral engineer, and creator of Utaptics and Faster EFT. Together, we're going to explore how to really change the way you see yourself. You'll also hear from our special guest, Eric, who shares how working with Utaptics helped him reconnect with his power. Hi, Robert.
Well, that's a very good topic, low self-esteem. I remember back in the days, of course, do you have low self-esteem? That's a really good question. What is it? How does it work? And how you update your esteem? I remember in my office, this woman, she booked a session and we're dealing with a major trauma. As a matter of fact, it's so big, she didn't even want to tell me what it was, and she didn't have to. I said, well, you know what it is? And she said, yes. I said, why don't you, in your mind, go there, remember it, and see how strong it is. From 0 to 10, she says it's 1,000. It was super big. So for the whole 2-hour session, I'm working on a memory. I have no idea what it is. She does, right? So then, felt really good. It's big loads lifted. Said it was a 0. Didn't bother her at all. Again, I had no idea what it was. So the following session, she comes back. And so everything I do, we test and retest to make sure it's completely updated, rewritten, and she's free. And I said, now when you go back to that memory, how strong is this memory? She says it's a 2. I said, well, we need to finish this up. She goes, no, I'm okay with it. It's a 2. I can live with it. I said, all right, but let me ask you, I really think it's really important to clean this up. What would you want to work on if you don't want to work on finishing that up? She said, I'd like to improve my self-esteem. I said, that's a great idea. I said, where does self-esteem come from? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, think about it. Where does self-esteem come from? She says, myself. I said, good job. So it comes from yourself. So inside of you, we all have what you call the esteeming self. What is the esteeming self? And I said, that memory that has taunted and tormented you for 20 years? That had affected your value as a person, didn't it? She goes, yeah. I said, let me ask you, if you were to finish that off where it never bothered you again, you can't even make it bother you, how would that impact your self-esteem? She said, tremendously. I said, you're right. Self-esteem comes from our esteeming self. And how does self-esteem ourselves? And it's called our emotional trainings, our experiences that we've experienced within, and we build an idea and a value on how to survive in the world. So that's where it comes from, our esteeming self. And our self, inside of ourself, we use our resources and our emotional trainings to put ourselves low. And so it's like a dog. Can a dog have low self-esteem? The answer is, some will say yes. The little cowering dog in the corner. Why do you think a dog would cower in the corner? Because they were abused. They've been hurt. They've been trained. It's safer to hide in the corner than to stand up front of class. This is how the brain works. Now, the bizarre thing is, our esteeming self is oftentimes a cultural training from our families, our mothers, our fathers, and from experiences that they didn't have, something that happened at school. Shame and embarrassment, bullies, the list can go on for so many experiences. So in order to prove your self-esteem, you got to improve how you esteem yourself. And those are the events inside of us. That's how esteem is built.
All right. So can you go deeper into that about esteem? Like what can you define that? Because you're saying you're esteeming self.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like?
Okay. It looks like this. I'm going to use Crystal as an example. Little old Crystal is a little girl. She has a mother and a father, I presume. She maybe has siblings, older or younger, and how they interact with her, how they treat her. Crystal created an idea of how she is in the world. Whether she's a girl, girls are to be seen and not heard, girls are to pick up, clean up, and fix everything in the world, or your mother would pick on you, blame you, guilt you, and whatever she could do to you. You're going to build a value, not only a value, but it's a safe operating system. And you got to fit in the operating system called the family and the culture. So self-esteem is built from ideas about yourself. Now, if you have a husband or a wife or a brother or a sister saying you're ugly, picking on yourself, picking on you, humiliating you, embarrassing you, tormenting you, you're gonna learn to operate from those systems. And those systems are what we would call low self-esteem. I worked with a man just the other day, over 80 years old, 80 plus, close to 90, And he says, I don't think very highly of myself. I can't speak up. I let people run over me. And so we began to explore his world. And of course, we go back, and his number one emotional impact in his life was his sweet, dear old mother. You know, she was mean as hell, didn't cuddle, fault finding, pulled him, grabbed him by the hair, shamed him, humiliated him just for his own good. And that's how we develop these ideas about ourselves. So our idea about ourselves are generated and created by how we represent ourselves inside of ourselves, but a lot of it has to do with how they trained us to survive. And he said, well, she never really cuddled me. She never nurtured me. And I said, let me be honest with you. I bet your mother been through a lot of stuff. He goes, yeah, she has. Well, her style of nurturing was to toughen you up. And that's what she did. She nurtured you to be like her. Ran you down, beat you down, make you subservient to the system. It's not what we call the best, but she's operating from her jungle, crazy family, crazy life, and she's sharing it with him, which is also training him to operate for survival. And it doesn't feel good. So this is how it works. Okay. Hey guys, if you enjoy this video, do subscribe to this channel, ring the bell, take the free course at skillstochange.com and invest in you. This is the path you want. I assure you, it'll work for you. Just do it.
So let me ask you a few questions. Why do some people have a high self-esteem and others have a low self-esteem? Go into the details of what is happening inside of someone.
Yeah, that's a good question. And the reason why it's good, let's say, for example, I can use you as example. It's not you, but it's others. So let's say, for example, you come from a family that's really hard on you. And so you have one personality at home, one behavior, and you go to school. And you go to school and you just love school. You excel in learning. And then you're going to build a high value. And by that, you build a high value. You start to feel really smart. You start liking yourself and all these other things. And I've seen this a million times where they do really good at school, but home sucks. And so they create one style in front of people. But then when they go home, they have a different style. And sometimes they both collide and mess them up. But so the point is that some people will have a bad event happen. They don't know how to release it, but they push it back. And so they appear, and a lot of times overcome things, and they're really good at one area, and they look like they have high self-esteem. And they do in certain areas. So esteeming of the self means I'm good at something. And if you're good at something, you can do that something, and it looks like you got self-esteem. You just basically have confidence in a certain area. Like some people can have really, really great public speakers, but horrible at interpersonal communication when nobody's there. with just you and another person. So there's different ways that people have this. So some people are fortunate enough that they captured the good moments and reminisce and hold on to and practice the good, and then the others do not. You know, I've worked with so many people who they're 80 years old and they're still using a 5-year old experience to give great value.
Mhm.
And so they're using monuments, moments that have a negative impact versus the good ones. Now, by the way, we all have both good and bad. And the bad thing is that the bad ones have strong emotional input and it controls. And that's because inside of it, it has a survival system. It's trying to protect you and keep you in alignment with the family or the system that installed it.
Mhm.
So
Can
that's the
you
difference.
Yeah, can you go into greater detail with that programming where something is so painful, something hurts, and we hold on to those things? It feels like that's more real than any kind of confidence that you can have or any
Right.
other, positive experience.
Right. Yeah, because you've heard the concept imposter syndrome. They say they're a great doctor, great speaker, great at this or great at that, but inside themselves, they have the stories of what their parents said, their mom said, how their brothers treat them, how teachers treat them. So there's two aspects about this. So when we're talking about the esteeming self, we have those painful moments. And it's again, like I said, it's a survival system. Your mother picked you up at school every day for years, always on time, before time. Why is it that the one time that she was 2 hours late, it sticks out louder? And the reason is emotional impact. Emotional impact. And it's like this little boy. I mean, he's not a little boy now, but he always said, Mom never took us trick or treating for Halloween. Never. And so, all the others said, yes, she did. But there's only 1 year out of all the years she didn't do that. Only 1 year. But that stuck out very loud. And the reason is it it was outside of the norm. It had an emotional impact. So then we start building a camp around it. Again, it's like you go to work 1,000 times and you don't remember all the 1,000 times you drove that path to work. But you do remember the day that you went and you saw an accident or a coyote ran across the road and it caught your attention. So the mind has a way to solidify, but the things that stick out, that catches your attention, drives you. Now, why is it the bad stuff? Well, the bad stuff has survival in it, but it also keeps you in a loop. It's like a hamster wheel. You're repeating, and never getting off. But you're the one who owns the hamster, and you're the one who's the wheel.
Right. We're choosing the wheel. We're choosing to stay stuck in the loop.
Well, it's not that we actually choose. You have to understand it's not a choice, it's an installment.
Mhm. But we're choosing to stay in the hamster wheel.
Well, listen, you could say, I choose not to take things personal, but you
Right.
still do.
You still do.
Because the unconscious resources make you even when you don't want to.
Okay. That is an interesting one.
Yeah. Because remember, it's not, I mean, if consciousness could solve your problems, you'd have no problems. If consciousness can change your problems, solve your problems, you'd have none. It's not a conscious act.
Yeah. Right.
It's the updating of the information written on the cells of your mind. It's the updating of the memories. If you can't change your memories, you can't change you or what you do, basically. Now, let me say this too. Bad behaviors, low self-esteem, depression, panic attacks are all great successes. Great successes from your unconscious mind.
Mhm.
They're not defects and they're not faults. It's just survival based on what went in and are held within. Either you practice it or not, it still drives the bus, taking you places you said you don't want to go.
Mhm.
But you're the one putting the gas in the truck.
Yes. Okay. So
Are you stumped on that?
you know where I went? I'm so visual. So in my brain, I went to a panic attack that I had. And I would have never said I have ever had a panic attack. But
Right.
I listened to you. I'm not sure when this was. I think it was actually during a podcast that we were doing a podcast. And a memory came back to me. I still actually haven't cleaned it up. So I haven't cleaned that one up yet. But my mother-in-law was laying in the hospital bed and she died.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I had a panic attack. I didn't even know what it was. I know that people were handing me this paper bag and I'm breathing through it. I have no idea why my body's doing this. Consciously,
Hmm.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm thinking that as I'm breathing through the bag. So that is
Hmm.
that unconscious programming that you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd like to clear thing. Your body isn't doing it. Your brain is expressing some idea through your body to catch your conscious attention.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're talking about. It's not a choice.
Mm-mm. It's
Mastery.
it's it's a programming. It's an internalization of a story. We talk about stories, the great way, although my system is not a Christian system, not anti either, it's just how the brain works. Jesus taught in parables. Parables are hypnotic trances. When I tell a story and you internalize it, you give meaning to whatever I say, and your brain translate that. So again, you can. By the way, how many times I worked with somebody who watched a TV show or a movie and they had panic attacks and anxiety because of the movie. And it's really not even a real thing. It's a made up story on TV
Yes.
because they internalize it. So, another thing just to add to that, our self esteem is created by not what they said, not what they did, but rather what we took, internalized, and translated on our brain. So trauma is not the event that happened. It's rather how your brain take it in, organize it, and use it on you. So that panic attack was based on some ideas, some fears, some concept that you had within you.
Right. Yes. Definitely around death.
Yeah.
Definitely has to do.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We've even talked about this before that you have a
Yeah.
real death issue.
Yes. Yes. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All
so
right.
that's a programming to work on.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's on my peace list.
Yeah, we got a session coming up somewhere, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Good.
All right. So, in regards to low self esteem and that internal voice that people
Mhm.
hear, I'm not good enough, I can't do this. Where is that coming from? And why does it feel so believable?
Well, again, it comes from your brain and it comes from your training. Low self esteem is esteeming yourself very lowly, which is a great success. I mean, this is not a default, it's a great success. In order to feel like the lowest scum of the earth takes a lot of work. I mean, what's the difference in low self esteem and high self esteem? Just the direction you're walking.
Wow.
Both of them are successes.
Yeah. Hmm.
But if you don't like it, you can update it
Yes.
and create something totally different.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. So, what's the
Yeah.
most surprising sign that someone has low self esteem?
Well,
What's
let's
the,
change it. They don't have, they produce. Okay. They don't have it. They
yeah.
produce it. All right.
Okay.
So what is the common themes? There's a lot of different themes. Relationship issues. It shows up in relationships. You don't feel like you're good enough or smart enough. Um, you're subservient no matter what. Always feeling sad, lonely, depressed. You talk crap to yourself inside yourself. You're
Mhm.
angry. You feel worthless. You get pissed off at the light switch. You did nothing, right? You don't have no motivation in your life. You just feel like you just can't, you just lay in bed. It's safer. You have trouble coping with things in your life. You feel insecure. You avoid activities, where people may judge you. Or matter of fact, they may harass you because you're so pretty. I've never had that problem, but you could have it. Or if you're so ugly. All of these are programmings and built from experiences. And of course, they're going to try to escape these, which is number one mechanism we all use to avoid our pain is they call it an addiction, and it's not really the addiction to a substance, but it's the avoidance of the pain within ourselves. So they're going to eat something. They're going to screw something. They're going to shop something. They're going to clean something. They're going to gamble something. They will Facebook it. They'll do anything to avoid themselves. So common symptoms are emotional escapism, I'd call it. That means looking for some way out of your head and finding something out there to try to soothe or divert your attention temporarily. So you name all the different things: anxiety, eating disorders, antisocial behaviors, substance abuse, suicidal thoughts. The list goes on and on and on.
Wow. So can you explain the light switch? I know you talked about the light switch and like being mad at the light switch, and it's not
Yeah.
the light switch's fault. How is that tied to low self-esteem?
Well, this is actually a true story. I use a light switch as a parable, but a brother-in-law of mine, he had the same father as my ex-wife did, and he was a very abusive. And so he would get pissed off at the washing machine because he deemed and wasn't smart enough to figure out how to use it. So I use a light switch as a metaphor for him. Pissed off at the light switch because it just isn't working right, and yet the light switch does nothing. The washing machine did nothing. So they get angry because of something outside of them that they don't understand, and they blame it. And I said, leave that washing machine alone. What did it ever do to you? But it's really his emotions, his anger, his frustration about himself. So he takes it out on others.
Right. Oh, yes. I can totally relate to that. Not that I do that myself. Otherwise, you're going to start bugging me about that.
Leave those washing machines alone.
I grew up with that. I did. I grew up with that. So I know what that looks like. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what does it actually take to change low self-esteem?
Well, first of all, low self-esteem is a creation based on experiences. In order to build a better esteem, you got to update what's inside you. Now, when I say that, it is very simple. Just go change it. That's easy. Just go change it. Well,
Thanks.
yeah, but if you don't know how to change it, you know what? You're not going to change anything. So the thing is, you got to learn how to be the master of your mind, the master of your thoughts, having the capability and the ability, skill set, knowledge, and understanding of how you work from within. That's it. So, of course, I teach how the brain works. I'm a behavioral engineer. A behavioral engineer an engineer knows how to build a bridge, build a building, and a behavioral engineer knows how to change a behavior by addressing, changing, adjusting the components that create a bad, low self-esteem. So you got to know how it works. All the sages and all the great teachers say, know thyself. It's not your name, not your address, not your birth certificate, but know what you do inside. Having the capacity and the ability and the talent and the skill of emotional regulation, internal shifting. I call it directed mindfulness. What is your mind full of? Even though my system is math, you do this, you get that. That's how simple it is. It's not spiritual, but you could create spirituality and have a spiritual connection somehow. But it's just mechanics of the mind. Now, if you get rid of your angers, your hurts, your traumas, your abuses, and all that, when you adjust those and they're not there, the side effect will be self-esteem, a higher self-esteem. Everybody has an esteeming self. Some esteem low, some esteem high, depending on the content. So by having the ability to change the content, we'll have a ripple effect in your everyday life. It's like I've worked with so many people who had like a fear of this or trauma of this, and the next thing you know, they're acting totally different. Everybody knows they're different, but they don't know they're different because internally the world has shifted and changed. Because it only takes a 3-second moment to change your value as a person, positive or negative. 3-second moment. It could be a 1-sentence line, and you take that as pain, and then you start building on top of it. It takes a 3-second moment to think, oh my God, I really am somebody. So again, it's basically knowing how to change the self, know the mechanics of your mind. Now, by the way, if you don't know how it works, guess what you can't do?
You can't
Change
change
it.
it.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Robert, how about for the people that are listening to this and they're trying to understand like your lingo? They're trying to understand even what you're talking about, like changing your unconscious resources, your inner references, and
Yeah.
all the terminology that you use. They're going to have to listen for a period of time to your
Mhm.
teaching to really understand what this is.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in the self-help industry, they are faking it until they make it. And I want, like, can you address this a little bit? Like, how
Yeah.
your system is different, how it's not fake.
Right. Yeah. It's not faking it. I mean, you can fake it. Um, the thing is, if the negative is inside you, pretend like it's not there. It doesn't make it go away.
Yes.
It doesn't. You can pretend. You can pretend all you want. Behind the smiles are the tears. And you're trying to run from the tears, trying to be positive. But inside the same head, they both reside. And when the shit hits the fan, when you're being challenged, when life deals a bad hand, which one shows up? And it's not the positive one, it's the negative one. So if you know how to change the negative and you build a talent of addressing, changing the self, when the bad things happen, you go through it easier because you have skill and talent. The other, you just lay on your back and say, woe is me. Just tread on top of me and I'll suffer it.
That's right. And I have to fake it now too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fake it. I have to fake it. I feel like crap, but I'm going to
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
that I'm feeling good because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a new day.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Awesome.
so basically what we're creating authentic people. Your
Yes.
outside world and your inside world are in alignment.
There we go. Thank you. That's it right there. And
Yeah.
authenticity, if I'm we're talking frequency and vibration, authenticity is what it no, it is the highest vibration that we because we are in alignment
Well, hold on. Being depressed and low self-esteem is authentic. You know that.
oh gosh. Okay. Well,
That is an
I
authentic
actually
production.
that's interesting. So it's
It's,
being authentic as our unconscious mind, but
it's
as
not the
our
best, but you have to understand that's a survival system. You've got to stay alive. You've been trained that the world sucks, and you're staying in that world that sucks, and you're authentically aligning yourself. The dog hiding in the corner is authentically living his authentic life based on his emotional trainings.
okay, well you got me there.
So you're talking woo woo talk. That's what I say. Just woo
I
woo.
love woo woo talk. Yeah. What's the highest vibration? Okay.
Well, I mean, one feels better, one doesn't. But you know, if you drink your whiskey, smoke your pot, and gamble, and you're winning, you feel good.
That's true.
That's good vibrations.
Until later on.
Until the truth slaps you in the face and pulls you right back to reality.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. All
So,
right.
yeah. So, yeah, and by the way, this is an age old thing. Of course, we have the Apostle Paul. He talked about this. My spirit is willing. I want to, but my flesh won't let me. Now, what's the flesh? His programming. It's just the programming. You
Mhm.
know, it's programming. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You
Very good.
know,
Yes.
so that's just how the mechanics of it is.
Yes. Well,
So
Robert,
I, so I figured out how to solve the problem.
sorry. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did
I,
figure it out.
I'm starting to feel insecure right now. You're laughing at me.
I'm getting you back, Robert, for all those times you make fun of me.
I've never done that.
We have a special guest on today, and his name is Eric. So, Eric, welcome to the Robert Jean
Let me
Experience.
start. Hey, Eric, I'm so glad you're here. I'm really excited to hear your story. Tell me, how did you get started? What was your life like?
So my life, like I grew up in a family. So first of all, thanks for having me here. So the story is like that. I grew up in a family in a Soviet like mindset where you're being pushed to do whatever you had to do, but you didn't like. And I
Mm-hmm.
hated it all. It created a lot of insecurities in me. It created a lot of stress and a lot of fears in me because
Mm-hmm.
you had to do it right, and you had to do whatever they wanted you to do. So you had to be in sports. You had to be good at sports, and I excelled at what I did. I was like world class at that. But I hated that. I hated my life. I hated whatever I was doing in my life. Like by the age of 21, when I finally got out of the army, then I stopped being in my family. Like I got out of the family control. I started living my own life. And of course, with all the background that I had, with all the insecurities, I wanted to get free. I wanted to experience life, and I started working for different jobs, and I started experiencing what I had in my childhood. I started going to work, trying to make some money, but I had forced to do things that I didn't like. So I found myself starting a business soon, and in business it wasn't easy as hell. Doing the phone calls, having the rejections, going through that, trying to force yourself to be positive, trying to force yourself to be liked by other people was a nightmare. Like every day I would come home, I was devastated. I was emotionally exhausted. I was drained. I would come home like at 4 p.m. I would go to sleep because I was emotionally drained. I couldn't stand the day. And it went for quite a while. But I was always like looking for a way for me to make my life easier. And back at the time, I didn't knew English, so I forced myself to learn English because all the good books were in English. So I started reading books about psychology, about NLP, Tony Robbins, many things. And I went actually to Tony Robbins seminar as well. And they all taught me one thing is that change doesn't last. That's what I want, and that's what I learned. NLP didn't give me any. No, it wasn't user friendly. It wasn't giving me the tools to actually work on something, have it solved, not need to return to that again. And it was a nightmare. And I felt like at some point I got into this desperation that it doesn't matter how much I work on myself, doesn't matter how much I change, how much I read, how much I spend on myself, because I spend a lot of money as well, and time and effort. It doesn't change anything. Second, it doesn't last because the second day I still have to work that through. So it
Right.
wasn't a solution that I wanted in my life. So I kept working and kept looking for solutions. And it was like I was roughly 27 or 28 years old when I first encountered when I first introduced, because I was introduced by a friend that was actually doing the first level of, back then it was called Faster EFT.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one day I was failing in my business again. I was like a few days after after I filed a bankruptcy for my company. I had a big company, roughly 60 employees. And it was like emotionally a catastrophe, like a catastrophic um, experience. And of course, I was devastated. And she said to me, "Do you trust me?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So she said, "I have something that I want to share with you that I believe you would like. But you have to trust me. It's going to be wildly strange for you." I said, "Okay, let's try that." Um, and I remember that we're sitting there. It was Saturday in the morning. We were sitting there. We started doing the session. And while doing the session, I can tell the first time you do it, it feels strange. Feels strange. I was going like through, in my mind, I was going through what hell am I doing? Why the hell am I repeating these sentences? Um, And, you know, we had the session for like 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, roughly. And it was powerful. I cried. Well, I didn't knew it was powerful at the beginning. I cried and um, we finished up working. I thank her. And the whole next week after the session, I felt like my mind is in a sort of a fog. I didn't understand what's going on with me. I just noticed that I started changing and I started reacting differently. I noticed that I was behaving in a different way. And the crazy thing is that you understand that that is going on in your life. And you remember the past you that would behave in a different way. And first of all, I was like shocked because first time I found something that I don't have to force myself to like uh, prepare myself to have that change in that day, but that actually something that I did like a week ago, and it has its effect now. And so I remember that change, and it was so refreshing. And like a month after that, when we met with my friend and asked her, "What the hell did you do? What was it? I don't understand that thing. Like I can beat myself all day long, but I would not change. I can tap my face all day long, wouldn't change." And so she told me, "Okay, there's this guy, Robert, and he invented this method. It's called faster EFT. You had to try it." And so I was looking like in the internet. First, I found EFT, and I thought that's the same thing. Apparently not. and and then I found you. And then I found you, and then I've seen the classes that you have. So I enrolled in one of your free classes actually to see if I can do it myself because I thought maybe, she's an experienced woman. Maybe she knows how to do certain things that I don't. So I took the first class that you have. I experienced the change. I experienced a different change in my life. And that was so refreshing that I don't have to go back and each morning beat that positivity mindset inside of me just to keep up with being positive that day. I don't have to. I finally found it, and I was searching for a long, long time in my life for a tool that will be able to help me to stop being so negative. I was waking up, I hated my life.
Mhm.
I was going on in calls. I cannot tell you how much I was um, overthinking the phone calls, thinking what I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna do. I was going into deals. The more money I was going to make on that deal, the more stress I had.
Yeah. So it's like the pressure was on you. And of course, like you said, it started in your childhood programmings, You had this pattern. You had it when you was a kid, you had it in your business, you had it with yourself.
Yes,
Which, by the way, that really helps your esteem, doesn't it?
it helped me change in all levels in life.
Yeah. Yeah. When you start changing.
Self-esteem,
Yeah.
yes. And I'm talking about self-esteem and not only that, um, the behaviors that you often do. Sometimes, like, for example, only not even that, even for example, you have a feedback from someone and they behave in a certain way that you don't like. And if previously I would get like upset, I would get depressed because of it, I would overthink that whole thing the whole day. After working on that issue, I stopped overthinking. I finally understood that it's not my fault that they think that way. It's not my
Mhm.
fault that they feel that way. I don't have to take it inside of me. I don't have to work that inside my mind the whole day. I can just let it go and move on with my life. And life became peaceful.
So you have a tool, you have a skill.
So I finally had a tool. I
Yeah.
had a skill. And I'm roughly working on myself almost 10 years. And I've changed so much. And I can't thank you enough for the work, for that, for the fact that you stack with it and you created a program. And then you created a mindset to help other people that want to work on themselves and actually change things.
Mhm. So if you put two people together, we got you
Yeah.
before and you now. What was that person like, and who is this person today?
Oh my God. So before that, I was severely depressed. I mean, every day depressed. I was not only inconfident, I was afraid of everything. I was being also a perfectionist, but in a bad way. I wouldn't do anything. I would just overanalyze everything in life, not taking action on anything that I want in life. So I had all my dreams, all my desires in life, but they will never come to fruition because I was just always afraid to take the first step.
Right.
And now things have changed. Now I'm not afraid of rejection. Now whenever rejection happens, it's just a conversation. It's not even a rejection. Now whenever I need to do something, I just go up and do it. It is simple. It it is it is simple now. Like back
Mm-hmm.
then, I was suffering a lot.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Interesting, isn't it? So it's changed your life, changed your mindset.
It changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed what I know that is possible. And my wife is she's a therapist, and she actually doesn't believe that this is true. So I'm begging her to have a session at least once. And I told her, you don't have to believe that. I didn't
Yeah.
believe it. I didn't even understand what I was doing the
Mm-hmm.
first time. When I saw the change, I immediately understand that that is a long-lasting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to work on myself again.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So did she know you before you started using my stuff, or only
Funny thing,
after?
yes.
Oh
She
yeah.
knew me before. I was not able to approach her. And only after I worked on myself, I worked a lot of insecurities about myself, about dating, a lot of beliefs that I had about dating and about like how things supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Only then I was able to approach her and start a relationship. So first start a conversation and then have a relationship, and now we have babies.
Notice that if you use this, it'll get you a relationship too.
Can get you babies.
Two babies. But she didn't really know you really how bad you were before.
No, she doesn't. And
So
I'm
she only
always
knows
telling
the
her,
yeah, she only knows the you are today.
yes. And I'm telling her that I was that and that and that before. She doesn't believe that that could be me.
Right.
And despite, I was famous. I had a lot of, I had money. I was famous. I had a lot of friends, but deep inside, I was empty and I
Mhm.
was depressed and I was just insecure about everything.
Hmm. Yeah.
Your childhood training, you were talking about the pressure that was put upon you. Do you notice that today? Do you
The
notice any
pressure.
pressure, or what happens when you do experience pressure?
So I'll tell you, if before I used to, so the pressure that I used to have before is that I had to do things that I had. Um, but now I don't have that. I don't have that need. I don't have that stress inside.
Hmm.
I don't know how even to explain that. It's not there.
Yeah.
I'm doing things just because I decided to do them. That's it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's really interesting too. A very good point. On the outside, you look successful, but on the inside, you weren't.
Yeah.
I know so many celebrities. I know so many people from sports. Outside, they're successful. They have mansions, they have money, they have private planes, they have everything. Deep inside, they're so insecure. They try to take pills, they try to take alcohol, they try to take drugs.
Hmm.
And I've been in all those environments where they take drugs just to be confident to be themselves.
Hmm.
It doesn't last.
No.
It's not
Yeah.
something you can fulfill with that.
Yeah. But what inside you have the real power now.
Inside me, I have the power. I have the tool.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm getting a meeting and I'm seeing that something bothers me, I can check that inside and I can change that almost instantly. And I'm going back into the meeting, and instead of being stressed, instead of thinking about everything that's going on, I'm being myself. I'm being in the moment, and I'm being able to have a better decision to better understand the situation. And it gives you a tool. It's a tool to survive, actually. It's a tool to
Hmm.
live a good life. It's a tool to survive. It's a tool to prosper. And it's a tool to move on in life, to get unstuck somehow.
Right. So where did you find those tools when you started out with Robert's work?
I found Robert. I was introduced to Robert actually, to the method, and then when I was roughly 27, 28 years old, that's when I was introduced, and then of course I was too insecure to say I need help. Okay, show me where that is. So I started looking for myself on the internet. Like, what is EFT? What is faster EFT? And I understand that it is faster EFT. And and then I guess at 28 years old, I actually went to the first class and I learned how to work on myself.
So when you went to you came to one of my live trainings.
Yes, I came to live training.
So I have a question too. So you watch my videos, or you watch me. When you first saw me, what was your perception of it, and then after? That's a very good question.
So the first thing I've seen all the videos where you're in nature. So I'm gonna be brutally honest. I didn't understand what is this dude doing in the nature? What's going on? What is he talking about? But then when you started talking, so I thought the first thing I thought, of course, my perfectionism kicks in. Why is he talking in the nature? That's not perfect. I hear the sound and all that. But then I understand that the things that you're saying are very much touching the issues that I'm having. And I started like having all these documents about all the things that you're saying. I started writing and having sort of a journal of all the things that you say and all the things that I'm having. And like I made a list of the things that I want to work on.
Mhm.
So
Hmm. So at first, it's kind of put off because this guy's videos aren't perfect, but his content were good.
I try to understand whether I want to get invested in that.
Mhm.
Because I told you, I went to Tony Robbins, I spent lots of money. I went to NLP classes, NLP training, NLP. I had coaches, life coaches, business coaches, whatever coaches, relationship coaches. Nothing helped.
Hmm.
And it wasn't about the money. I could spend the money. The issue was about spending the energy and actually dedicating to that, dedicating to the work that needs to be done. And I didn't want to fall into another like business guru or emotional guru or or mindset guru
Right.
type on the internet. And
Right.
so I had to understand. And when I was watching your videos, you actually understood my problems better than I did.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then I understood, and then I had like a small leap of faith. Okay, that person understands what I'm going through.
Hmm.
Of course, before I took the first class, it was still on the level that person understands me. But then after I took the first class, I started having the understanding of how to do the work on how you process um, everything, and then it changed for me. Then I started experiencing. So first of all, I worked on my depression. I worked on my procrastination. I worked on some elements of my perfectionism. Life became peaceful. I came home. I no longer needed to go to sleep. I was no longer overwhelmed by life. I was no longer overwhelmed by the meetings, by people, by conversations, by rejections, and
Hmm.
life was fun.
It's
Then it is
amazing.
fun. Yeah.
Yes, that's
So,
great. Are you in Utaptic's training right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
good.
No, I'm still level one. Um, and
That's
the
a good
funny
one.
thing at the beginning, I want to do this and I want to learn this to teach all my employees how to work on themselves. And then I understood that everybody has to take their own leap of faith and do that on their own.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so smart. If you're CEO of your company and if you are, if you're sending people to this work, that is smart.
Yeah. But another thing too, like what you said, this is kind of weird at first,
Mhm.
but the results are huge. The results are huge.
The result, it's even more than that, Robert. The results are, that's the only system that I know of today in the world that is able to change the mindset of a person. I don't know of anything that could change and be lasting change.
Mhm.
Because I can find lots of programs that will get you motivated, but motivation lasts as much as it can last a day, a month, an hour, but it ends. And what you do after that, you have to redo motivation. And at a certain point, it won't work. And what worked here is actually I was able to change behavior pattern. I was able to change mindset.
Hmm.
That's something to brag about. That's something that I couldn't find anywhere else.
Hmm. So yeah, so here it is. You think about it. I talk about my system. It's like math. You do this, you get that. But it's more than that. It's how to survive in the world, how to operate, and maneuver through life. It's a philosophy of life. It's an attitude about life, and it gives you the controls over you. It allows you to conquer things you never thought you could. It knocks the barriers out to where your value is coming from you and how you represent yourself in the world. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can change yourself course is what you're in. That's the course everybody needs. Because if you can't change yourself, you're in trouble.
Yes. So if you're,
Deeply.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're ready to take control of your emotional patterns, Roberts, You Can Change Yourself Master Training uses advanced neuroscience-based techniques that will help you clear all the way to your deep-rooted emotional issues.
Mhm.
So this training also will guide you step by step to change how your brain stores and processes emotional experiences. And you can find so that you can finally live a life of confidence, of freedom,
Mhm.
a life that you really deserve.
And your esteeming self will be a whole lot happier. So if you were to say one thing, if you could say anything about not only the experience but what you learned, what's the biggest thing you would say my takeaway from this experience with my training?
My biggest takeaway is that I told you that before, that you can change something in your life and it will last.
Mm-hmm.
It'll last. I was depressed. I changed it. I no longer felt depression. Life became easy. Life became fun.
Yeah, yeah. And the nice thing too about that, Eric, is the you today won't pass down depression to your kids.
That's something that was so meaningful because when I started, I didn't have any kids. Now, when I have kids, I'm very careful about myself because I want to pass down as an example a good fatherhood, a good example.
Because we, you, I, all of us, our experiences growing up as a child impact our identity and values in a great way. So if you, as a father, as a husband, a friend, a brother, an employer, if your attitude's good, it's going to impact everyone in your life.
Definitely.
Everyone. Wow. And did you said you had a session with me as well?
Yes, 5 years ago,
5
changed my
years ago.
life.
So
I
so
had an
yeah, share about it if you
yeah.
don't mind.
So if I remember that correct, I had an issue. I didn't want to be like my father my whole life. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a family environment where my father was the bad one, everyone was the good one. It was the blame game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was blamed a lot to be like my father, and I didn't want to be like my father. So I grew up trying my best not to be like my father. Of course, I grew up to be exactly like my father, experiencing exactly the same issue like my father, and repeating every step of the way, just like my father. I won't go into details. What was it? But um, it was a turnaround moment when I admitted first. It was hard for me to admit that I am just like my dad. And then it was hard for me to admit that it's okay to let it go. And then my father became a great person. My family became a good family. And I became even better person.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a big one too. Very big. Because I've heard this a million times. God, I don't want to be like my mother, but I don't want to be like my father. But the problem is you have all these memories of your mother and your father inside you that makes you act like them, even though you don't want to act like them, even though you resist it. And so I don't know. I honestly don't remember the session, and I don't remember working with you because I worked with so many, like a lot every week and every month. But I'm really excited, and your story is so common, so common. But here's a cool thing: you make peace with the Father within, you also make peace with the Father outside you and your world. Yeah, so amazing.
What a great interview. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so amazing. So thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
Because I do all this work for all these years. I don't know what the impact that I make on people. I know it's big. I don't know, but like your story is like, it's one of my happy memories. It says, yeah, you're the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. You're the reason. And if you hadn't shared, I would never know. Maybe you'll come to my funeral, but it's too late. Not that I plan on dying anytime soon, but that's the point. It's like, I really, really thank you for sharing. I didn't know your story, and so I'm very honored. So make sure you do this in front of your kids. Let them learn. Show them how to do it themselves. Give them personal power and control. They're probably too young, but when you can, because
That's young, yeah.
this is a coping skill. It's a manifesting coping skill. Yeah.
Well, it's a tool our parents didn't have.
No.
That's what they had, the parenting they had.
Yeah. Yeah. And they passed it down to the next generation, and that'll go down to the next generation. So, but now it's going to stop.
Yeah, someone has to break the loop.
Yeah. And you did it. Now, if we just get your wife in here. But it is. You have to understand, and I understand your wife's model too. I don't know your wife. I don't know nothing about either of you really, but that she has a different training, and her training doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
It's taught a different style, and unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of therapists who do come because they're seekers, and they do come and they really change their life. I remember this guy. Oh, I can see him. I can see him in my mind. He was a psychotherapist, and he was heavy. He's been on antidepressants a good part of his life, and he started taking my trainings. And because of taking my trainings, no longer on antidepressants, no longer depressed, even though he's a psychotherapist.
Makes sense.
His name's Terry. Yeah, Terry Hoyt. So therapists need this too. Everybody does.
I want to tell you that it doesn't matter where the person comes from, all walks of life, that helps everyone. My wife comes from a family of billionaires. I come from a family of famous people. It doesn't matter where you come from. We're all equal, and that helps everyone equally.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter where you are. If you're the lowest of the low or the highest of the high.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Everybody has stuff, and they say I had a great family, Even if you have a great family, you have stuff. I mean, people would look at your family and think, wow, you're so successful. I mean, you're
They
successful.
don't know what's going on.
No, they don't know what's going on behind the ears or behind the eyes. What kind of sport was it anyway? I was curious because I'm a man.
So I had a lot of them. I was in American football. I was in the Israeli team, in
Oh,
rugby,
wow.
in the Israeli team, and I was in athletics. So I don't know how to pronounce the things that I was in, but I was in athletics too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So
That's okay.
soccer and football.
Oh, soccer I hated, but American football.
Okay, good. Yeah. Real football.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. I'm very honored that you shared. It really is a great story. Thank you.
Thank you for
And
having me today.
very good. Now, one more question. After your session with me, how did it go?
Well, splendid. It took me a whole month to get into myself. That whole change was just too much. Sometimes, you change and it takes you a while to get used to the new mentality, to the new behavior, and you don't understand. So my own experience, I didn't understand what's going on with me, but I understand that there's a change. I understand and I see the change and I see the feelings that I'm having, which is different. And the mind kind of remembers what it was before, but it's kind of not real anymore. So the new thing feels refreshing, feels good. It felt like new air coming in the house.
Fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a good
Thank
way
you.
I'm so happy to have this. I'm so glad we did this. Thank you, Crystal, for bringing him on.
Yes.
Very good.
All right, Robert, any closing thoughts?
I want to say one more thing. When he talked about the session, he talked about two different sessions. the after effect of a session is profoundly deep. Your mind has to go restructure and organize the big changes. It has to sort out things, and it does feel like something's working back there. But then you start noticing your behaviors changing without you making the changes. It's unconscious, deep changes. So your esteeming self has been updated. The power has been given back to you. And so if you're down, guys, if you don't like your life, you don't feel happy, you don't have control, and you feel like life has dealt you a bad hand, you can take control of that and change it from within. It is available. It's capable. You can't change rainbows and rabbits because you're not going to catch either one of them, but you can change your mind with skill, attitude, and a mindset. And my number one tool is persistence. You know, Eric found this because he kept looking. He wanted something better, and he found it. So all therapies lead to the one that works, and you found it right here, guys. And love yourself, like yourself from within, because what you do up here, you do to other people. So just be nice within yourself and take control.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of the Robert Jane Experience. If you spent years doubting yourself, holding yourself back, shrinking who you really are, just know that you can change that and you can build real self-esteem from the inside out. And Robert's free 5-day online course is a powerful place to begin reclaiming your confidence and building a new relationship with yourself. You deserve that. All right.
If you're wondering how can it help me, we have a strategy call. There's a link here below this video, and we'll help you. We'll direct you. You tell us what you want. We'll show you how to go, and we will make big changes for your life. Just keep doing it. We're going to help you. We'll direct you. We'll change your life and put you in the driver's seat of your life, and you get to go where you want to go instead of where you don't want to go.